Page 67. Types of property rights. Property right is an individual's right that exists in relation to property, such as ownership right or a right to ownership. Possession right, a right of possession. Important types of property rights are as follows. 1. Ownership right, or a right to ownership, is the right to own the property. The ownership is the greatest right because the individual who has an ownership right has the right to do whatever with that property, such as selling, payment, transfer, or even causing damage to the property. The ownership right is the right that exists in both immovable property and movable property. 2. Possession right, or right of possession, is the right to hold a property with the intention of holding it for himself. For example, Mr. Mana left Mr. Shamchai with his bag, which would mean that the bag was in Mr. Shamchai's possession. Therefore, individuals who have ownership right in a property would technically have the possession right in the same property. In contrast, although an individual has possession right in a property, this does not mean that he or she has ownership right in the same property. Take the aforesaid case for example. Mr. Samchai received Mr. Mana's bag. This would imply that Mr. Samchai has possession right in Mr. Mana's bag. Yet, Mr. Samchai is not the owner of that bag. The possession right exists in both immovable property and movable property. 3. Servitudes means that the owner of an immovable property necessarily has to refrain from exercising certain rights inherent in his ownership for the benefit of another immovable property. Additional contents. Adverse possession, or hostile possession, is having possession of a property owned by someone else, and such possession is peaceful, open, and hostile to the interests of the true owner. The adverse possession will occur for a sufficient period prescribed by law, i.e., 10 years for immovable properties and 5 years for movable properties before the adverse possessor can acquire valid title to that property.